joining us now, Trump supporter Scottie Nell Hughes. Scottie, thanks for joining us. What was your reaction when you learned of all of this morning? Did you agree with that decision to fire the campaign manager?
Well, I was definitely shocked, but after hearing Dana's interview where Corey gave a very classy answer, and I think even more of Mr. Trump's testimony to his character was revealed. You sit here, and whether you're talking to people that you normally think would be very upset about their interaction with Mr. Trump, they turn out to be just as respectful, if not more respectful, on the other end. Whether you're talking to an ex-wife, ex-employees of the business, and now you're seeing an ex-employee of the campaign, they all are very, very respectful and thankful and grateful for the opportunity that Mr. Trump gave them. And that's whether it's 1 day after, 1 hour after, or 10 years later. Everybody still has positive things to say about their interactions with Mr. Trump. That's something that a lot of folks in politics cannot say about former people they personally or professionally dealt with. So while, yes, I was shocked, I think this is a transition, Wolf, from going from a grassroots campaign, as Corey pointed out very well. He has very much accomplished more than most seasoned people from D.C., seasoned consultants from D.C., to now you're running to a very tight ship, more of a business of a campaign, and that's something that I think that the Trump children are used to, and said, okay, now we are going to a national campaign against the Clinton machine. Let's start running this the Trump way, the very efficient. This is going to be something very streamlined, and this is going to be the power machine that those of us that have gotten to know Mr. Trump will be known to pull off.
All right, so you had no heads up. This came as a stunning shock to you, like to mostly everyone else. But are you concerned that this could hurt the Trump campaign? Does it signal trouble?
I don't think so. In fact, I think it's the exact opposite. I think this is what the Trump brand is known for: excellence, efficiency, and getting the job done. I think what we're going to see from here, now that there will just be Mr. Trump and then Paul Manafort answering to, I think you're going to see an extreme streamline when it comes to the campaign will quickly fill these political slots in these key states. Fundraising operations, they're going to reassure donors. I think you're going to see donors coming to the RNC. I think you're going to see, you're going to see rapid response operations are going to become very much. Communications, and maybe this is a little bit inside game, communications amongst the Trump campaign have highly improved. They were fine. They were great for grassroots, but they have become amazingly efficient these past few weeks, both of Hope Hicks and some of the surrogate coordinators, some of the people Paul Manafort's come in. It has been it's been wonderful as a surrogate for the Trump campaign these past few weeks to the communication that's come into, and when I've had questions, they've been answered rapidly and with the details that I needed to know in order to come on shows like yours and be able to fulfill it. I think that's only going to continue to improve. And I've also noticed, Wolf, the interaction with the RNC. Because I'm a press member, I've been able to see RNC talking points and the RNC points, their daily emails for years now. Now I'm starting to see them integrated amongst the Trump campaign. And that speaks to a testament as to how close the RNC and the Trump campaign are starting to work together in order to go towards November.
What else are you hearing about what led up to this decision? And it was a shock to a lot of people, given the fact that Donald Trump over these many months was so loyal to Corey Lewandowski. What are you hearing about the role that Ivanka Trump, her husband Jared Kushner, and the two brothers may have played?
Well, I think they've always been his #1 consultants. I mean, Mr. Trump has never hidden that he receives a lot of advice, both personally and professionally, because he respects his children. They've obviously been raised, and they obviously have his best interest at heart and the campaign, and now it's become the country at the best interest. So I think it's wonderful, but I think they've always had a very prominent role within the campaign. I think now they're ready to step up to it and be definitely one of those folks. And we're going to see as we get closer to the RNC, I think the Trump family will be, the RNC is going to be about him, about his character, about what he's accomplished and his plans for the future. A celebration and letting people get to know all members of the family, where before in the past you've had presidents where their children have been kind of off limits. I think he's going to say he's very proud. He considers to be his children to be one of his best accomplishments. And if I have children that are just like his, I would hope that I'd prominently display him. We all know that usually the fruit doesn't fall too far from the tree, and the Trump kids are probably some of the best surrogates that he can have out there to prove, look what I did with these children. I want to have this kind of accomplishment with the rest of America.
All right, Scottie, stand by. We're getting some breaking news on the votes up on Capitol Hill right now on guns. We'll have that, a lot more, right after this. Let's bring back Scottie Nell Hughes. She's a key Donald Trump supporter. Scottie, over the weekend, Trump made news when he thought more people in that that gay nightclub, the Pulse nightclub, should have been carrying guns. If they had, you would have had, in his words, a very, very different result. The National Rifle Association disagreed with him. They said that nightclubs where people are drinking, people should not come in with guns. Trump later walked his comments back, saying the security guards should have had, or employees should have had guns. But a lot of people are raising questions about his knowledge about guns, gun policy, because there seems to be some confusion. Your thought?
Well, my thought is I'm kind of like the NRA when it comes to this. I do believe that guns and alcohol do not mix. And I think the majority of when Mr. Trump did mean that security guards, it's kind of like guns in school. Whether they have them or not, they should at least have the freedom to have them there. And that threat should be there so that the bad guy who comes in with the gun doesn't think that he's the only one with the weapon. And so I think Mr. Trump was serious when he said, I think we should have had armed security guards. And I think you're going to start to see that at some of these bars going forward. The lemonade out of this horrible situation is that you do have a lot of members of the LGBT community that are starting to go out and they're getting trained to be responsible gun owners and be able to protect themselves, as unfortunately they have been targeted in the past for hate crimes, and I think they're going to see they want to make sure that they're protected. So this has at least opened up that avenue of education within that community.
Trump wants a meeting with the NRA. I don't know if that meeting has been scheduled, if it's going to happen, but he clearly disagrees with the NRA. He suggests that he wants people who are on the no-fly list or the terror watch list not to be able to go out and purchase guns. The NRA disagrees on that.
Well, the NRA does agree that they don't believe a terrorist should be able to be able to go in and purchase a gun. And this is one point that him and the NRA do agree with. This is one thing that I think the majority of Americans, especially according to the new CNN poll that just came out, the majority of Americans do believe that terrorists should not be able to walk into a gun store.
But the poll,
and
Scottie, let me interrupt, Scottie. That poll asked if people who are on the terror watch list or people who are on the no-fly list, if they should be able to buy guns. The overwhelming majority don't, like Donald Trump. They don't want those people to buy guns. The NRA says, you know what, those lists aren't that reliable, and it shouldn't be the be-all and end-all.
Well, I don't think there are issues with the terror watch list. That one's pretty, we know what that one is. It's the other issue is the no-fly list, is we've seen people like Edward Kennedy be accidentally put on there, or people whose names were mistaken. They're a little bit less accurate with the no-fly list than they are the terror watch list. I think that's what's so frustrating right now about what's happening on the Senate floor. And both Republicans and Democrats should feel very guilty about what they're doing to the American people right now. Why does both sides not put a clean bill forward that says if you are a terrorist or you are suspected of terrorism, if you walk into a gun store, that a red flag will either stop you, prevent you, or alert local authorities that you are trying to purchase a gun. A clean bill. Unfortunately, both sides are playing politics and offering amendments that they're attaching to other bills. The Democrats are attaching this to a mental health bill and some stipulations that have to deal with CDC funding for research. The Republicans are attaching it to immigration and law enforcement and defunding sanctuary cities. If these folks really wanted to put forward something that would stop things like Orlando and any other, they would sit here and say, let's do a clean bill that if you're on the terror watch list or suspected, that we will know if you try to purchase a firearm. It's a simple bill that would take care of issues.
Scottie Nell Hughes, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you, Wolf.